Helo pawb, croeso. Fi'n credu bod ni'n fyw nawr. I think we're live. I'd just like to welcome you. My name's Owen Evans, Chief Inspector here at Estyn, and I'll be joined today by Claire Morgan, Strategic Director here, with Liz Miles, who's in charge of primary schools, Dyfrig, who's in charge of all sorts of things, including PRUs, and we also have Laurie, who's in charge of secondary. So we've got, a lot of the top team here today just to go through what I think is quite a big topic, which is what to expect from an inspection. We know that in many schools won't have had an inspection for a long time. We know that, it can be quite a stressful activity. So what we're trying to do is really show you what to expect so that you're more comfortable about what's coming at you. It's probably worth mentioning as well that we're doing it today from our perspective of what that means, but also what that means from the perspective of practitioners as well. So we've done a couple of videos already, one in Welsh, one in English, with people from schools across Wales, including one from a statutory category, by the way, which I thought was interesting and important for us, about what to expect and really the emotions that you go through and how to survive an Estyn inspection, because when people go through the process, what typically comes up at the end was, it wasn't as bad as we thought. So with that moniker, hopefully that's what you'll get from today's session, and it'll prepare you hopefully for what comes. So a little bit of housekeeping. This will be a bilingual session. If you've hopefully chosen your language as you came in, if you didn't, please go back and come back in. But you can choose which language you'd like. We'll have simultaneous translation as we go. And please feel free to ask questions at any point as we go through the session, but clearly we'll leave some time at the end. Ask questions in whichever language you like, and we'll try and answer those. And if we can't, then we'll come back to you afterwards. So really, without further ado, we'll crack on to really, and just some sections now about what to expect, what it might feel like and look like when you got the magic call. So I'll shut up and hand over to Claire.
Oh, diolch, Owen. Well, I'm going to address some of the questions we're often asked about inspection and hopefully bust a few of the myths around. We're often asked, what are Estyn intentions for the inspection process? Well, the role of inspection really is to drive improvements for learners and to complement a school's own self-evaluation improvement process. But we know that inspection can sometimes cause pressure. We've all been through inspections back in school. We probably could name the lead inspectors. But we can assure you that our inspectors will do all they can to ensure that your inspection is a valuable professional learning experience for everyone involved, whether you're a leader, whether you're a teacher, whether you're support staff, whether you're a governor, and of course, our own inspectors as well. We want inspection to add value. So since September 2024, we've introduced a wider range of activities and built in more opportunities for professional dialogue. One of the other questions we're often asked is, how can providers best prepare for inspection? And as a senior team, we visit lots of inspections. We have the privilege of chatting to many teachers and leaders. And in those conversations, we often come across lots of myths about inspection. So I'll mention a few of them to you. The first one is you have to prepare specifically for an inspection. Well, this is false. We want to see your school as it is, day in, day out. Inspection is about understanding your strengths as a school, but also exploring some of the areas that need some improvement. But there is absolutely no expectation that you change your normal routines just to fit in with an inspection. We want to see you as you run normally. The second myth we hear is that you need to create resources and policies, especially for the inspection. Another myth that's false. We only ask for a small number of documents in advance, and Liz will say a little bit more about that later. But you certainly don't need to prepare anything, especially for inspection. Working documents are fine, and they don't need to be pristine, smartly presented, what's happening in the classroom is what matters. Another myth we hear is that teachers must write lesson plans for inspection. This is false. We don't require lesson plans. Our inspectors won't ask for a lesson plan, and if anyone tells you otherwise, you can quote us. Estyn does not require lesson plans. And the last myth I'll mention is that inspection is purely about judgments. This is false. Inspectors will make evaluations, but we have removed summative gradings, and our evaluations focus on a wide range of evidence that supports learners to make progress and reach their potential. Our aim is exactly the same as your aim in school, helping learners to make the most of their time in school. The last question I'll mention is often asked by head teachers. How can leaders support the school community to make the most of an inspection, to take as much value as they can out of an inspection? Well, inspection is a unique opportunity to gain an objective external view that complements your own internal self-evaluation. It can bring a fresh perspective, highlight your achievements, and provide insights into how your school compares with other schools nationally. So in all our inspections, we also have what we call a nominee role. These are usually head teachers or the head teacher of the school who joins the inspection team, engages in all the discussions and listens to the evaluations. Following the inspection, they can ensure that school takes the most value from the inspection by unpacking all the detail behind the messages in the report and help the school to plan for the next stage of the improvement. Feedback about the nominee role is really positive, and head teachers, even those who are new to post at the time of the inspection, tell us how valuable it is to be the nominee. So there are a few of the questions there that keep coming up as we speak to school leaders and teachers, but we'll keep an eye on the chat and we'll pick up as many as we can at the end as well. So diolch am wrando. Liz is now going to go into more of the detail about what you can expect during inspection. Diolch.
Hi, thanks everybody. So I think one of our key messages is that we don't want schools to try and estimate when their next inspection will be, as we know that creating anticipation, it sometimes causes unnecessary pressure. And this is because we've removed all predictability. So I think the key message is don't play inspection bingo. And where that term comes from is after my son's school was last inspected, he was sat in the staff room and somebody glared at him and said, "That's your mother's fault, this is." And that's where and he said, "No, not only her, she's the bingo caller as well." But we don't play inspection bingo. There is no link or set time between your last inspection and the next, and no link between an interim visit and a core inspection. What we can guarantee is that for a core inspection, you will have 10 days notice. And we normally notify on a Monday, but that's a good Estyn word, normally, because sometimes, as no inspection lasts 5 days anymore, sometimes we can contact you on a Tuesday. And if you work in a primary school, it can even be a Wednesday. When you're notified of a forthcoming inspection, it'll be a phone call from one of our inspection coordinators, and they will ask to speak to the head teacher. If the head teacher is unavailable, then the inspection coordinator will arrange for another time to contact the school. The call usually takes around 30 minutes, and if you haven't got time, say, "I'm busy." We know you've all got pressurized jobs. Say that you can't take the call and go through the details at that time, and they will agree a mutually convenient time within the next day or so to go through the initial contact form with you. So the inspection coordinator will tell the head teacher the date of the inspection, and they'll also tell them the names of the team. And this is so we can check for any conflicts of interest. The inspection coordinator will take the head through the initial contact form. And they'll ask things to confirm, such as, have we got your correct email address so that we can contact you directly? What's your language preference for the inspection? Number of pupils in the school? And if you have a local authority resource-based class. Now, you don't have to have all that detail at your fingertips. Once you've had the initial conversation, the form will be uploaded into your virtual inspection room, and then you can fill it out when you've got the information, but obviously before the inspection starts. The inspection coordinator will also talk you through and confirm the date that the questionnaires will be issued, so that these can be sent to parents and carers, staff, governors and pupils. They'll also check on a couple of other details such as health and safety, available at parking, and obviously lunch. The key thing in inspection is feed the inspectors, but we will pay. After you've had the initial conversation with the lead inspector, with the inspection coordinator, the lead inspector will email the head teacher to arrange an initial Teams meeting. That email will explain the purpose of the meeting, which is to discuss practical arrangements, such as housekeeping, but most importantly, it'll give the head an opportunity to provide some context about the school and to discuss any current priorities and challenges. And I think that call can set the scene. Be as honest and open. The lead inspector wants to set up and maintain a relationship with you, and they want the best possible outcome for your school, your staff and the pupils. Normally, in a primary, when you talk about the arrangements, the lead inspector will discuss with the nominee, the head teacher, arrangements for the initial meetings with the governors and the parents, but they will also confirm the final feedback meeting. And in a primary, generally it's one representative from the local authority or the region will attend alongside a member of the governing body. In a secondary, it's the local authority representative plus a regional consortia representative. But if you lead a faith school, you are also asked to require that a diocesan rep is also invited. Claire touched a little bit on the nominee role, and previously we had training for those who were going to undertake the nominee role, but now there's guidance, and you'll find that in the virtual inspection room. And all that we ask is that you tick the box in the VIR virtual inspection room to say that you've read that guidance. Now, this is something that as a previous head and having been inspected and carried out inspections, I can say for sure, we ask for very little documentation before the inspection. And that documentation that we do require, we ask that you upload into the virtual inspection room. And the full list, and it is a short list, is available on the Estyn website under the frequently asked questions in our Ready Already campaign. So what do we ask for? We ask, like I've said, that you complete the initial contact form. We ask for your school improvement plan, timetables for the duration of the visit, information about your staff, such as names, responsibilities, qualifications. When I always find interesting, we ask for a map of the school. And in some schools, you really don't need a map, but in large schools, it can be very, very helpful. We ask for your safeguarding and child protection policy and a completed safeguarding self-evaluation report. Please don't try and think you've got to put it into the Estyn format. You don't. Just upload the current one that you've got. And finally, we'll ask for a list of staff DBS checks with the check numbers and issue date and the level of that check. Something else that we'd like to reassure you about is in the base room, we only ask for very few documents to be there. We'll ask for a sample of pupils' work that covers the breadth of the curriculum, but the lead inspector will discuss that sample with you during the team call. And that sample is just a reference point, because the team will be looking at additional information, looking at work, books, talking to yourselves, pupils, staff. They'll be conducting teaching and learning observations. The lead inspector may request some data that the school has readily available. For example, in primary, we may ask for a list of pupils' reading and chronological ages, or outcomes from national personalised assessments to be in the base room. But I cannot stress strongly enough that there is no requirement for anyone to undertake additional data analysis for the inspection. We only want information that is currently and readily available. And that goes for every aspect of an inspection. Please do not do or create anything, especially for the inspection team. Of course, as we go through the process of the inspection, the lead inspector, a team member may require more information, but they shouldn't and won't be asking for anything that you haven't already got. And I can see at the bottom of this slide, it says, in terms of advice about getting ready without creating unnecessary workload. I would suggest going through the frequently asked questions and the resources aligned to Ready Already campaign. They're available on our website. Probably a good idea to do this as a whole staff, because it's people who've recently been through an inspection, head teachers, learning support assistants, talking about their experience. We want our inspection teams to work with leaders, staff and pupils to come to a valid evaluation of the school's work based on your everyday practice, based on the evidence and practice that you already have. And throughout the week, there'll be plenty of opportunities to communicate. My advice is be as open and honest as you can and talk to the team. They're not trying to put banana skins under you to slip you up, catch you out. They want you to be able to showcase your work. So be yourself and give that message to everyone who works with you in your school. Our inspection teams want to shine a light on what your school does well and help identify any areas that may benefit from improvement. I'm going to hand over to Dyfrig now.
Lyfli, diolch yn fawr iawn, Liz, diolch yn galon am hynny. Mae Liz wedi sôn am yr hyn sy'n digwydd cyn ac yn ystod arolygiad, a dwi am sôn chydig bach ynglyn â beth sy'n digwydd ar ddiwedd pan mae'n dod i ben. Felly, ar ddiwedd yr wythnos, dydy'r tîm ddim jyst yn pacio ac yn gadael fel criw gwyl ar ôl Glastonbury neu maes B. Pen llanw pob arolygiad yw'r cyfarfod adborth ffurfiol, a mae hynny'n digwydd gyda'r uwch arweinwyr, gyda llywodraethwyr neu aelodau'r pwyllgor rheoli, a fel arfer cynrychiolwyr o'r awdurdod lleol neu'r consortiwm rhanbarthol. A dyma pryd mae'r arolygwyr yn rhannu eu canfyddiadau, y prif canfyddiadau, sef y cryfderau, meysydd i'w gwella ac argymhellion dros dro. A mae rhaid cofio bod yr enwebau, da ni eisoes wedi cyfeirio pwysigrwydd yr enwebau, fel arfer y pennaeth sydd yn cymryd y rôl yma, bod hi wedi bod yn rhan o bob cyfarfod tîm, ac wedi bod yn rhan o'r holl drafodaethau, ac felly mewn sefyllfa dda i roi cyd-destun hanfodol wrth rannu'r deilliannau gyda cydweithwyr. Wrth gwrs, mae'r arolygydd cofnodol sydd yn arwain yr arolygiad yn sicrhau amser gwaith y tîm yn ystod yr arolygiad. Mae tystiolaeth yn cael ei brofi mewn cyfarfodydd tîm gyda deulog proffesiynol yn seiliedig ar farn y tîm cyfan. Felly mae'r broses o sicrhau ansawdd yn cychwyn yn ystod yr arolygiad. Ac yn dilyn yr arolygiad wedyn, wel, mae tua 10% o arolygiadau yn cael eu sicrhau'n ansoddol ar y safle gan gyfarwyddwyr cynorthwyol. Dyna pan da ni'n arolygu'r arolygwyr mewn gwirionedd. A wedyn mae pob un o'r adroddiadau drafft yn cael ei olygu a'i wirio gan arolygydd arweiniol profiadol. Maen nhw'n ystyried cywirdeb, maen nhw'n ystyried naws, ac os yw'r dystiolaeth wedyn yn cefnogi'r dyfarniadau yn gadarn. Os yw'r tîm o'r farn bod angen dilyniant, mae'r cyfarwyddwr cynorthwyol a'r cyfarwyddwr strategol hefyd yn adolygu'r dystiolaeth o'r adroddiad. Felly mae cymedroli hwn yn sicrhau cysondeb ledled Cymru. Ac wedyn yn dilyn pob arolygiad, mae'r golygydd hefyd yn gwerthuso gwaith yr arolygwyr tîm, yr arolygwyr lleug, a rhoi cymheiriad ac yn rhoi adborth ar gryfderau ac anghenion datblygu ar gyfer yr aelodau yna. Felly dim ond ar ôl cwblhau'r holl gamau yma, mae'r adroddiad drafft yn cael ei rannu gyda'r ysgol ar gyfer gwiriad cywirdeb ffeithiol, lle mae gan arweinwyr 5 diwrnod gwaith wedyn i nodi unrhyw walla ffeithiol. Felly o ran cael yr adroddiadau allan i'r ysgolion a'r unedau, mae'r amserlen yn ddigon clir. Mae'r adroddiadau drafft yn cael eu rhannu gyda'r ysgolion yn weddol fuan ar ôl gadael y safle ar mwyn gwirio ffeithiau. Nawr, o ran gwirio ffeithiau, dydy hyn ddim yn golygu herio'r darfarniadau, ond mae'n golygu'n bod ni'n gwirio manylion. Er enghraifft, os di'r adroddiad yn dweud bod gan yr ysgol 420 o ddisgyblion ar y gofrestr, pan ta dim ond 390 sydd yma'n gwirionedd, neu falle bod y dosbarth derbyn yn tyfu pin a falau yn edrych at tomatos, yna byddwn ni'n cywiro'r wybodaeth ffeithiol cyn cwblhau'r adroddiad. A wedyn o fewn rhyw 45 diwrnod, da ni'n cyhoeddi'r adroddiad terfynol ar ein gwefan ynglŷn â chrynodeb byr i rieni. Mae'r crynodeb yna yn ddigon byr i'w ddarllen mewn gwirionedd cyn i'r tegell ferwi. Felly, elfen arall o'r hyn o'n i moyn cyfeirio ato fo oedd pa fath o ddilyniant gall nhw fod a sut mae Estyn yn cefnogi gwelliant. A mae yna 2 gategori dilyniant statudol. Mae gyda ni mesurau arbennig, a mae hyn yn digwydd wrth i'r ysgol neu'r uned cyfeirio disgyblion yn methu a darparu safon dderbyniol o addysg, a pan fo'r tîm arolygu yn credu nad oes gan arweinyddiaeth yr ysgol gallu i wella. A mae rhaid i'r ysgolion yma gynhyrchu cynllun gweithredu ar ôl yr arolygiad o fewn 20 diwrnod gwaith, a byddwn ni wedyn yn ei monitro nhw bob rhyw 4 i 6 mis. Gyda gwelliant sylweddol, os oes diffygion difrifol, ond bod gan yr arweinwyr y gallu i wella, yna byddwn ni'n ei rhoi nhw mewn categori gwelliant sylweddol. Ac yma byddwn ni'n gwerthuso'r cynllun gweithredu, ac yn y tymor canlynol ac yn ail ymweld ar ôl rhyw 12 i 19 mis. Ac os nad oes angen dilyniant, wel mae'r ysgol yn parhau gyda'i thaith gwelliant arferol. Ac ym mhob un o'r achosion yma, da ni'n barnu, ond hefyd bod angen cefnogi gwelliant. Da ni'n gwneud hynny trwy cynnig argymhelliad clir mewn adroddiadau, felly os nad oes angen unrhyw gategori, da ni'n gadael argymhellion, gan gynnig elfennau pendant a clir iddyn nhw wella arnyn nhw. Da ni hefyd yn ymlygu arfer effeithiol trwy sbotoliadau, a da ni'n cynnal ymweliadau monitro datblygiadol pan bo hynny angen, ac wedyn yn ymgysylltu gyda'r ysgolion mewn deulog broffesiynol a adeiladol gydag arweinwyr. Ac yn olaf, o'n i jyst moyn cyfeirio at beth ddylai arweinwyr ei wneud gyda'r adborth i gael yr effaith fwyaf. Ac mae'n debyg na ddylai unrhyw, byddai'r arweinwyr gorau yn sicr ddim yn rhoi'r adroddiad mewn drôr gyda label yn dweud peidiwch ag agor hwn tan y flwyddyn 2030. Mae'r arweinwyr gorau yn defnyddio adborth arolygiadau fel platfform, un ar gyfer gwella. A mae'n debyg bod yna rhyw 4 cam sylfaenol. Eich bod chi yn gyntaf yn plethu'r argymhellion i mewn i gynllun gwelliant. Cyfleidiwch yr argymhellion a'i adeiladu'n uniongyrchol i fewn i'ch cynllun datblygu gyda camau gweithredu a charreg milltir clir. Mae'n bwysig eich bod chi'n ymgysylltu â chranddeiliad, fel bydd y llywodraethwyr, y staff, y rhieni a'r disgyblion yn rhannu perchnogaeth ac yn rhan cyflawn o'r daith gwelliant. A wedyn eich bod chi'n myfyrio ar achos ac effaith. Tydi'r adroddiadau dim jyst yn disgrifio'r canlyniad yn unig, maen nhw'n cysylltu canlyniad gyda darpariaeth ac arweinyddiaeth. A gallwch chi fel arweinydd i defnyddio'r adroddiad i ganolbwyntio ar y pam a'r sut, a nid jyst y beth. Ac yn olaf, defnyddiwch yr enghreifftiau ysbotelio o arfer effeithiol fel cymhelliant a thystiolaeth ar yr hyn sy'n gweithio. Ac eto mae'r enwebau'n chwarae rôl hanfodol trwy ffurfio ar ganfyddiadau'r tîm mwyn sicrhau camau ymarferol ar gyfer y staff a'r llywodraethwyr. A mae hyn yn sicrhau bod y gymuned gyfan yr holl rhanddeiliad yn deall y dystiolaeth a'r ffordd ymlaen. A mae hynny'n hollol bwysig. A fy nhaid arfer y dweud bod ormod o bobl yn y byd yma sy'n gwybod popeth ond yn deall fawr ddim. A mae yna wahaniaeth mawr rhwng gwybod a deall. Felly dwi'n gobeithio bod hyn wedi rhoi darlun ychydig cliriach i chi o'r hyn sy'n digwydd unwaith bydd yr arolygiad drosodd a sut gall ysgolion a unedau ddefnyddio'r broses ar gyfer yr effaith fwyaf. Felly dwi am drosglwyddo nôl at Owen. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr, Dyfrig. Mae gen i tua 5 munud i fynd trwy cwestiynau. Mae gennym ni, wrth i ni aros am cwestiynau, mae gennym ni Lowri yn ystod y cefndir. Lowri, os unrhyw beth ti'n moyn ychwanegu fel rhywun sydd tan yn ddiweddar wedi bod mas yn ysgolion yn ymweld ac arwain ar olygon yn rheolaidd?
Diolch Owen, falle am bell beth o ran ategu at beth mae pawb arall wedi dweud, yn enwedig Liz, o ran beth sy'n digwydd o ddydd i ddydd ar arolygiad, a nath Liz sôn am yr alwad gychwynnol na, a mae'r tîm o ran y cydlynwyr arolygu yn wych, maen nhw wedi hen arfer a wneud y galwadau yma, felly does dim cwestiynau twp. Os chi eisiau gwybod rhywbeth, gofynnwch iddyn nhw, maen nhw'n wych am ymateb ac yn y blaen, maen nhw wedi hen arfer, felly gair o gyngor yn fanne. Ac o ran yr cyflwyniad cyntaf neu'r cyfarfod cyntaf na gyda'r arolygydd cofnodol, sef y person sy'n arwain yr arolygiad, cyfarfod teams fel arfer, nath Liz sôn am hwnna. Mae hwnna ddefnyddiol dros ben o ran bod yn gyfle i'r ysgol holi cwestiynau, ond hefyd yn gyfle i'r arolygydd cofnodol, egluro beth sy'n mynd ymlaen bob dydd ag ati. Ond gair o gyngor sy'n ni'n rhoi ydy i wneud nodyn o unrhyw gwestiynau sydd ganddo chi cyn y cyfarfod na. Mwyn bod chi'n gallu holi nhw, mae pobl yn anghofio pethau yn ystod y cyfarfodydd yma. Felly, newch nodyn o unrhyw beth, fel bod chi'n gallu holi pan chi yn y cyfarfod yna. Ond yn fy mhrofiad i, mae'r arolygydd cofnodol yn aml yn mynd dros bron popeth sydd ar y rhestr cwestiynau. Ond da, mae'n ambell beth mae rhywun wastad eisiau holi. A hefyd, mae'n bwysig i'r ysgol ddatgelu unrhyw beth maen nhw'n bryderus yn ei gylch. Enghraifft, falle bod nhw'n bryderus am aelod o staff sy'n mynd trwy gyfnod anodd yn ei bywydau personol, neu wrach bod rhywbeth wedi digwydd yn yr ysgol yn y blynyddoedd diwetha sydd wedi effeithio ar bobl ac yn y blaen. Felly, mae'n bwysig i ysgolion gyfathrebu y pethau yma i'r arolygydd cefnodol, fel bod nhw'n gallu rhannu gyda'r tîm os yn briodol, neu bod nhw jyst yn gwybod hynny fel gwybodaeth gefndirol. Yn aml yn dilyn yr alwad na hefyd, mae nifer o ryw check-ins mwy anffurfiol a llawer o e-byst yn gofyn rhyw gwestiynau, be di'r cod yma ar eich amserlen, math yna o beth. Ond mae cyfathrebu yn onest yn agored yn holl bwysig, a mae hynny'n wir trwy gydol yr arolygiad. Felly os oes rhywbeth yn mynd o'i le yn ystod yr arolygiad, mae'n bwysig bod yr ysgol yn cyfathrebu hynny gyda'r arolygydd cofnodol. Mae'n llawer gwell ceisio datrys problemau ar y pryd, ceisio mynd i'r afel y phethau yn syth, a da ni'n hyblyg iawn os oes angen newid pethau, da ni yn gallu newid pethau o fewn rheswm wrth gwrs os oes angen. Mae Liz hefyd i sôn am y cyfle na i'r pennaeth amlinellu cyd-destun yr ysgol. Mae hynny'n amrywio sector i sector. Felly, oedd Liz yn sôn bod hynny'n aml yn digwydd yn y cynradd yn yr alwad gychwynnol na. Yn yr uwchradd, mae'n deddol y ddigwydd ar y diwrnod cyntaf ar arolygiad. Ond does dim fformat, mae'n rhaid i chi ddilyn. Mae rai penaethiaid yn siarad yn eistedd lawr, mae rai eraill eisiau gwneud cyflwyniad ag ati. Ond dim ots mewn gwirionedd, y peth pwysig ydy manteisio ar y cyfle i egluro cyd-destun yr ysgol, siarad am y blaenoriaethau, siarad am y llwyddiannau o ran y taith wella, a hefyd agweddau sydd angen i gwella. Wel, sy'n mi'n ysgol yn berffaith, sy'n mi'n ni'n berffaith yn agos, ond y peth pwysig yw bod yn onest ac yn agored, a mae hynny'n helpu o ran y broses arolygu hefyd. Ambell beth falle o ran gweithgareddau sy'n digwydd o ddydd i ddydd ar arolygiad, dwi'n siŵr bod llawer yn gyfarwydd â'r pethau yma, ond da ni'n gwneud pethau fel teithio dysgu, lle da ni'n galw mewn am gyfnodau byrrach ac yn y cynradd yn ail ymweld, ar sylwadau gwersi llawn. Ambell waith da ni'n neud rhain ar y cyd gyda'r pennaeth. Da ni'n cyfarfod gyda disgyblion yn anffurfiol ac yn ffurfiol, cwrdd ag aelodau staff ar draws yr ysgol, felly staff ategol, cymorthyddion, athrawon, arweinwyr canol, uwch arweinwyr a llywodraethwyr. Da ni'n cyfarfod â'r rhieni, craffu ar waith disgyblion, Da ni'n mynd am dro o gwmpas y lle, felly da ni'n bach o niwsans o gwmpas y lle, da ni'n y cantin, ar y coridorau, da ni'n hobman. Da ni'n craffu ar ddogfennaeth berthnasol, ond mae Liz di egluro dim ond y pethau sy'n berthnasol ac ar gael i ni. Da ni'n craffu ar y dulliannau o'r holiaduron yna, a ambell i beth arall. Dyna prif weithgareddau o ran o ddydd i ddydd.
Felly fi torri mewn fyna.
Yeah.
Lori, os mae cwpl o cwestiynau yn dod mewn.
Oh,
We've got a couple of questions coming in, so thanks, Lori. Claire, I'm going to turn to you in a second on consistency. But just on there's a question, what's the expectation for governors doing inspection? Funny enough, I presented to Cardiff governors today. So if you'd like another conversation about that, really happy to have one. And I'd be really happy to send you the slides I presented today, because governors are such an important factor in the success of a school. So please let us know, give us your details, and we'll get in touch with some of that. I'm going to come on to perhaps how we might cover that in another session. But Claire, consistency. We do an awful lot of training. Dyfrig went through quite a detailed process that we're going through in ensuring that all inspections come up to the same standard. Anything you'd like to add to that?
I think Dyfrig covered a lot of this, but we take consistency and quality seriously. We issue detailed guidance to everyone who works for us, whether that's HMI, Reggie or RGNI in non-maintained nursery settings. And of course, we hold annual update as well for all our inspectors. We quality assure every single report. It goes through a number of layers to make sure that the report is accurate and the evidence supports the report. So we have a good look at the evidence as well. And if a school is going to follow up, there are 2 further layers of quality assurance. But we also visit the inspections very regularly to look at the consistency and the quality of the work on the ground. So as Dyfrig said, we inspect the inspectors. We also, at the end of an inspection, seek feedback from schools and other settings. We take that seriously. It helps us to continually improve our work and to make sure that we are delivering consistent and high quality inspections. So there are lots of things in place, but you can also find out more details about this on our website.
That's okay. Thanks. And I think one thing to emphasize there is, I go to an inspection every fortnight. Claire, you go to a number of inspections. We all do. What we have to balance is the fact, yes, we want that consistency, but we also want every single report we write to reflect your school and your setting. So we're always trying to make sure that the standards are the same, but that we can really reflect what we see and what you'd expect. So when you do read a report, it should really jump out at you. This is your setting. As the governors, as I mentioned, please get in touch with us and we're happy to send some slides out on that. I spent 45 minutes talking about this morning, so it's probably worthy potentially of another session, but we're looking at really how you challenge and support the senior team, looking at the improvement plan, looking at, are they being ambitious enough, but also taking things like safeguarding really, really seriously in the role that you fulfill. Right. Unless there's another question coming flying in, I'm going to thank everyone who's spoken today. We've run a little bit over, which is probably my fault. But just to mention that we do Estyn Lives every month now. We'll be doing ones on IVs in the future. If there's an interesting one on governors, let us know and we'll do one on that. But we also have done a lot of work on our communications and making things that are short, sharp, pithy. So we've got thematics coming out. One came out last week on curriculum for Wales. We've got one on AI coming up, which should be of interest, I think. And so look out for those. There'll be a fairly regular thing. And on October 22nd, we'll be publishing our early insights, which is a short summary, really, of the annual report designed for you. So I'm going to finish there. We've had one last question. Estimate specific expectations or things they're looking for in regards to RSC curriculum during inspection. Good question. We'll respond in a written little note on that, because I'd like to make sure that we answer all your questions from this. But hopefully you found this useful. We're trying to demystify, trying to take the sting really on what to expect from it. Please have a look at the other podcasts we've done with the profession as well. Don't just trust us. But I'd like to thank you for participating today. Diolch o galon I chi am ddod. And let us know if you think something like this would be useful to us to attach when we notify a school, then we'll do that. But I think we're just trying to provide a suite of materials for people that once they get the magic phone call, can just settle them and you know what's coming towards you. Diolch o galon, thank you for everything you do out there. We really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you. Diolch pawb.